Hey everyone, this is Livia Caudell with Conscious Wealth Builders Online Summit, creating prosperity with your higher purpose. And I am so excited to have Mr. Garland Landrith here with us today. Hey Garland.
How you doing, Lydia?
It's so awesome to have you. We've known each other for what, a couple years now at least.
Seems forever.
It does seem like forever. I first met you at a Unity church where you were doing some tapping mixed in with heart math, and your website and your work is The Universe Lies Within, which is really self-explanatory. So tell us a little bit about you and some of the work that you've done throughout your youthful long life, because you've done a lot and you've helped a lot of people.
Most people know me because of the research I did, where we proved that people meditating using transcendental meditation can actually influence the outside world and make it a better place by simply meditating. So all they would do is sit there and meditate, and bingo, things like crime rates would go down, automobile accidents would go down, suicides would even go down.
Wow.
And we got some of these studies published in mainstream journals. In fact, I was the one that first got these studies done way back in the 1980s.
Yeah.
Which tells you how long I've been working on this stuff.
So you may know one or two things, right?
Yeah, a couple things. So that's what started this whole journey out. Actually, what really started it out, and I don't usually tell people this, when I was a kid, I used to have dreams that come true. In fact, I still do. And these dreams that would come true would be exactly what I dreamed. And mind-boggling. Exactly. Sometimes I have 5 dreams come true in one day. So, I remember dreaming this. I know it's going to happen. I remember dreaming this. I know it's going to happen.
Wow.
So I
That's
got
cool.
the idea. Yeah, exactly. I got the idea that what goes on inside here is somehow connected to the outside world. And that's what started this whole journey.
Wow. That's really cool. And so what do you do? So you're traveling around the world and you're doing workshops and doing what exactly?
Well, I teach people how to get into what I call the quantum love flow. The biggest challenge today in all the energy work and all this manifestation, everybody's trying to manifest and use intentions and stuff like this. The biggest problem we have is trying to get into the subconscious. How do we get to the subconscious blocks that are holding us back? Now, physics proves that consciousness itself is the main creator of the whole universe. Some people claim it's the quantum. Because you can't have particles unless you have consciousness. Because as you saw in the movie What to Bleep, and by the way, they talked about some of my research.
Yeah, some of your research was cited in that documentary, which is one of my all-time favorite documentaries. I love it.
I know people have seen it 10 times and still trying to figure it out.
I've at least watched it 200, and there was one time I literally was taking notes because I wanted to get it in my mind. Talk about get it in your subconscious, right?
Right. So in some places they really didn't explain it. Like one of the things where the little eye watching, and there was these little balls of electrons, and as long as the eye was watching, the balls of electrons stayed balls. But as soon as the eye went away, the electrons disappeared, and you had 16 lines instead of 1. And what that implies is that the consciousness itself, the eye represents consciousness, collapses the energy waves into particles. So without consciousness, you can't have particles. Without particles, you can't have stars and galaxies and planets and people. And without that, you can't have a universe. So people have come to the conclusion that consciousness itself is the main creative force in the universe. And that's why a lot of people are using this idea of intentions. You have to have intentions to get prosperity, to get manifest. And so this is the interesting part of this. The subconscious also is consciousness itself. So what happens if our subconscious has doubts? What happens if we grew up as little kids and our parents didn't love us enough, and we thought to ourselves when we were growing up, I'm not good enough? What does that happen? It creates brain pathways. People say, I was a little kid. It doesn't really matter. But it does matter. It matters big time because our brain is being formed. That explains why some people take one step forward and one step back. They sabotage themselves moving forward.
Yeah.
So this is one of the intriguing things. So one of my goals, and where I've recently gone in the last 10 years, is trying to help people get the subconscious doubts so they can manifest the life of their dreams. But there's one more element here.
Dun, 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 dun.
You bet. That's the value or the lack of value of intentions.
Okay, say
Intentions
more
are
about
big.
that.
Intentions are big. People say you got to have intentions in order to manifest. So when people ask me in the movie What to Believe, they talked about one of the studies that I was involved with. And we took 4,000 meditators into Washington, D.C. and actually changed the crime rates.
Mm.
And while we were there, we'd start meditating about 7:30 in the morning and finish about 1:30 in the afternoon, and then meditate again about 3:30 to 7:30. In fact, we were so sure it would work, we told the mayor, who was Mayor in Barrie at the time, he was the cocaine mayor, and he'd been rehabilitated and all that stuff. He was a really cool guy, actually. And then the mayor, the police chief, the newspapers. So if it didn't work, they would have poo-pooed all of our other research. But it did work.
Mm.
And most people assume that we sat there and thought about reducing crimes. Well, Olivia, I think you know the answer to this question. How many times did we think about reducing crimes or anything at all when we were? Yes, you got it. Zero.
I only know that because you told me.
Yes, exactly.
Because you would think that's what you would focus on. If that's the result that you wanted, typically what you focus on expands.
This is huge. This is the ultimate truth of all the ultimate truths. What we did was we got out of the way and let the divine flow through us.
Mm.
It's a whole different way of manifesting. We get out of the way, because when you want something, what are you attracting, Miss Law?
You're attracting lack, right?
You got it.
If I'm like wanting to attract millions of dollars, well, then you're basically saying to the universe you don't have the $1 million. Yeah,
Beautiful.
I get caught in that too. It's just, it's such an interesting. You got to just be loving and appreciative. Like, I already have it. Thank you.
Or we can even do it the quantum way, which is getting rid of all. We just let go and go into the flow. Turn over everything. Now, there's a way to get around it. And you gave a beautiful angle on how to get around it, is sending love and being love, because then we'll attract things to us. But when you send love, what are you doing? You're giving.
Yeah.
You're giving. And what does giving do? It attracts more things to give. When your state of gratitude, you mentioned that. What are you attracting? More things to be grateful for.
Yes.
But now, what if we're sending love when we're in a higher state of consciousness? A little bit different. We might be able to emphasize and attract even more things.
Wow.
So abundance, from our perspective, and what we've proven in all of our research, is that we did it by getting out of the way.
That's so great, because that's the whole line of like let go, let God, or surrender. Because it sounds like, wow, yeah, that feels good. I want to surrender, but how the heck do I do that? And you've got some pretty cool tools to be able to do that.
The tools are huge. The tools are huge. Because without the tools, it really wouldn't work very well, because people have been working on this stuff for thousands of years. Norman Vincent Peale, you name it. Everybody's been talking about manifestation since forever. And don't get me wrong, I think positive thoughts work. But the problem is, if you have positive thoughts, you probably also have some negative unconscious thoughts that are sabotaging those positive thoughts. And so how do we get rid of those subconscious thoughts? We have to go into a higher state of consciousness. And so what I do, and you're going to love this, I mix tapping, EFT, along with one of your favorites, which is heart math. I know you are a disciple of heart math. You love it.
Yes, Roland McCrady's in this summit, the lead researcher.
And I love mixing the two together.
Yeah. Because
here's the interesting thing. Remember I talked about the subconscious doubts?
Yes.
The biggest subconscious doubt we all have is that we're not good enough and that we're not going to be loved. Because most of us grew up with our parents not showing us love. And when that happens, a little kid doubts himself. Right? So when you doubt yourself, it creates brain pathways that says, I'm not good enough. So you have to kind of get out of that dilemma. How do you get rid of those old brain pathways? Well, you have to kind of change and restructure the neural network of the brain. And that's what we can do with these techniques. We can actually change the matrix of the brain.
Wow.
And because when you tap on the acupuncture points, like I'm doing right now, just show you points, then what happens is it actually influences the brain. They've got documented MRIs now with acupuncture can actually influence the brain and the brain pathways.
Wow.
And it gets rid of fears. Now, when you just don't do tapping, you just do heart math without doing tapping first, you're going to feel some love. But also sitting there percolating in your subconscious is the fact that you don't think you're good enough. So how do we get rid of those fears and doubts? That's where the tapping comes in. First you do the tapping, and then you do the heart math where you send love. Heart math is a technique to feel love, and it also gets you into a higher state of consciousness, as does meditation. But heart math does it through the heart. As you well know, they feel that the heart is the window into the consciousness. And so I think there's some good research on that they themselves have primarily done. I myself have been published in brain coherence. I've not been published in heart coherence, but the two things are very similarly related. There's a whole bunch of research on brain coherence showing that it is indeed a higher state of consciousness. Well, when you do the heart math techniques, you can get into brain coherence through heart coherence because the heart leads the brain into it. So what happens is, it kind of follows along. And the beautiful thing about heart math, you can get there in 1 minute. So that's why I combine the two. The heart math clears out the doubts and the subconscious stuff. Excuse me, the tapping clears out the doubts and the subconscious stuff because it quiets the amygdala part of the brain down. And then you can be more full in your love, more full in your love.
Can I ask you a question? So what comes up for me is like, but isn't part of being a human being is like that doubt will never go away? Fear is never going to go away, right? I mean, it's kind of always going to be there in the background. Or do you come to a place where you're like so in the flow the majority of the time that doubt's just sometimes there, sometimes not? Is it a ratio thing, or what's your thought on that?
I think it's brilliantly said. I like to explain it like this. There's a little blip on the radar screen. Okay? It's not taking up the whole screen. It's just a little blip. You're still got the screen going on and you're still in the flow. Just a little blip on the radar screen. Another way to look at it, you love the parts of you that you're working on. I get my clients who have cancer to even love their cancer.
That's so great. I love that.
Seriously, because you become a friend with the cancer, you have a greater influence over it. You can live with cancer for years and years and years if it doesn't get any worse. I've had clients do that with the love flow.
That's amazing.
I call it the quantum love flow because it's a little bit different than regular, with the way they regularly do it in heart math. I have people actually let go of even the love. Get in the quantum flow. Well, but you use love to get there.
Yeah, well, and heart math even talks about this as well, is that when we're in states of stress, we're producing high amounts of cortisol, which really puts a lot of wear and tear in our body.
Huge.
Yeah.
Stress hormones, it ages us, all kinds of things. You name it, it does it.
Yeah.
Also, it kills us. Kills us. The biggest thing that's going on right now is inflammation. Inflammation is born from cortisol and the stress hormones. Everything is caused by inflammation, including heart attacks. In fact, that's the number one reason we get heart attacks is inflammation. Also cancer, autoimmune diseases. It screws up the genes themselves. They're not able to figure things out anymore. It's unbelievable.
Wow.
And then I add one more thing. Ho'oponopono. And Ho'oponopono is the idea that we can, this was the whole idea where, the way I was told probably 100 times, if not more than that, is that there was a shaman psychologist in Hawaii. And Ho'oponopono, it comes from a very ancient tradition in Hawaii where they resolve conflicts by positive means. So if somebody has a dispute over a boundary on their property, groups of people in the community would come up and praise one of the persons, and other groups of people come up and praise one of the other persons in an attempt to use positive reinforcement to resolve potential conflicts. It seemed to work pretty well. I wish our government could learn some of this stuff.
Yeah.
But you can do it internally as well. So we use these, and what happened was they did a demonstration of this internal thing with a psychologist who evidently healed a whole ward of a hospital for the criminally insane. It was quite a very, very very aggressive community there. The people were having at least 1 or 2 acts of aggression every day. They were all in chains. And by the time he left, there was nobody in chains. they were having one aggression per month instead of two every day. And they were taking trips, going out and walking around, doing stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody told me, I mean, seriously, everybody, they told me he prayed over their files with the words, "I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, and I love you."
Mm.
Now, first of all, I love the words.
Yeah.
And one of the weaknesses of tapping, the EFT, is figuring out what the words to say. Because I've taught over 25,000 people individually, not including all my CDs and DVDs
Yeah.
and so stuff. I just count individual things. And I can tell you about half of them done tapping before. And the biggest problem with tapping is they don't know what to say when they tap.
Yeah.
Those words solve the problem right there. So if you can use those words, you can really do wonders with tapping. But what happened was they came up with this. Everybody thought that he prayed over those using those words over their files to help heal them.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out he never once prayed over their files. In fact, he never once thought any negative thoughts about them at all. Instead, he prayed for his own negative diagnoses over them. In other words, he changed his own thoughts, and that in turn influenced the outside world.
Wow. Gosh, that's so powerful. See, this is the kind of stuff that's just like, it's challenging to grasp in a way.
It's very different than what we've been taught. Most of us have been taught all this stuff in a bunch of classes, and they keep telling you have to have intentions. You gotta visualize what you want. You want a BMW, you gotta get a BMW thing on your car keychain. You gotta clear out the garage to accept the BMW. You gotta put pictures of BMWs everywhere you're looking.
Yeah.
It's an entirely different way of doing it.
Yeah.
And it works.
That's great. That's so
It
great.
works.
In regards to, this particular summit, I really wanted to have a segment that really takes people through how they can discover their true authentic purpose. So first, before we kind of dig into that, what is your view on really living your true authentic purpose? Do you believe that we do have like a set mission to fulfill on this planet?
Yes, I do. I think that's an excellent question. I think it's not necessarily set in stone. It's kind of also, there's a lot of factors involved with it. But my experience with the dreams, and I've asked in my classes, how many people have had dreams that have come true like the ones I've had, and over 50% of the people have had that experience. So it's really fascinating, because if we have this kind of ability on this side, can you imagine the kind of ability we had on the other side before we even came here?
Yeah, I do.
We must have known the messes we were going to get ourselves into before we even got here.
And so with that being said then, because I have the same view, I believe that we all have been sent here for a specific purpose, and it's a part of our journey to really discover what that is.
Right.
And I do believe that, some people believe that it's just, being like in an empowering state. So just creating love, following your bliss, that will kind of lead to an opening. But what would be your idea on how people can really discover that for themselves?
Well, I like techniques, because my feeling is part of this thing that we're here on this earthly plane isn't so much to be perfect. It's more so to learn to love the dark side. Yeah. Because I think love is not complete unless you love the dark side. It's easy to love the light. But I think one of the things that we came down here, and this is something I kind of thought about a lot, and I actually have a whole talk on this. One of the reasons a lot of us came down here and encountered pain is that so we could help change the collective consciousness of humankind. Because unless we can change the collective consciousness, we're all kind of held back at the same time. We're propelling ourselves forward, because we're all influencing everybody else. My research and other people's research has proven that what we do in here is having an influence out there, but also they have an influence in here. But that beautiful thing is, we don't need to change other people. All we need to do is change ourselves.
That's awesome.
So when you do these research, when you do these techniques, you're not only helping yourself, you're helping change the collective consciousness. This is the great promise that these techniques have.
That's so great. I love that. And
This
that
is
reminds me of
huge.
Gandhi, right? So it's like be the change that you want to see in the world. And
Beautiful,
and that's
beautiful.
something that I have to remind myself all the time because I'm someone who feels like my purpose and mission on this planet is to really create new economy systems, right? So not try to fix and change what's not working because I don't think that that's a smart thing to do. Really,
Right.
for us to really step into our power, our higher self, and the people who are wanting to create new ways for the world to work, that we really step into our power and then we be that for ourselves and be that for the community. And then the world will change as a byproduct of that.
And I think you're doing an incredible job. This whole idea of bringing these incredible people together, you told me about this about 6 months ago, and you've made it happen. It just shows you the power of being in the flow.
Yeah.
Because you couldn't have done this 2 years ago. Also, the collective consciousness has changed since then. We've seen a huge shift in gay marriage. That's due to all of us doing our inner work. Because we're moving in the direction of greater love. People are more accepting of all kinds of different types of love because love is love. We want to encourage love wherever it is.
Yeah.
And yes, and so as long as no one gets harmed, obviously there's certain boundaries there. But we're talking about just simply gay marriage, which I think is a good thing. So, but it's like that. What you're doing is actually helping change the collective consciousness by bringing all these people together and sharing their wisdom that they've learned over the years. You're actually helping propel this forward. So you're actually an active participant in this thing. Yes. What you're doing. I've been very excited for you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And we've got to work together, on some of my blocks and I would love for you to actually take us through maybe some of your tapping techniques, kind of give us a little taste, and people on the other side can kind of tap along with us, and maybe we could set the intention for this to be a technique that people can use to really go within to really discover for themselves what their highest purpose is. Is that okay with you?
And let's see, how do you want to, you want me to do the tapping
Yeah.
and then the way I normally do it? Okay. Well, let's first start with, you didn't tell me this, we're going to do this, but that's okay with me. Sounds good to me.
I'm all about
spontaneity. So I love to
spontaneity.
tap. Any excuse to tap, I'll take it. So actually, I like to get people high with tapping, but I have certain points that you can slap, and that you can't really see them over here. So,
Okay.
but let's start with.
We'll just go for 5 minutes just to give people a little taste of what your work is about, because I think it's cool to give people a little taste.
Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to tap on what they call the gamut spot right there on your hand. Let's close the eyes. Let's open the eyes. Look with our eyes hard down the right. Look with our eyes hard down the left. Go around, circle with the eyes one way, the other way. Let's close the eyes and let's hum a little bit of Row Your Boat. One, two, three, 4, 5. And let's row your boat. Okay, so then what we do is we rub the left sore spot. That kind of gets prepared to be in the flow. This gamut procedure I like a lot. They actually do both sides. We're just going to do one. What it does, it helps you get out of your left hemisphere.
Okay.
Dr. Jill Bolte Taylor, a very famous Harvard neuroscientist, who is well published, had a stroke that shut down her left hemisphere. And she wrote prolifically about her experience. She had 6 strokes. She was on her deathbed, well, as best as we can say it, but really what was happening with her, she was having the traditional mystical experience. She was in ecstasy. She wasn't in agony. And what she said was, we got to get out of our left hemisphere. Now, intriguing, one of the things that she said when this was going on, she said for the first time in her life, she didn't feel alone. She felt connected with everybody and everywhere in the whole universe.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And she said that we got to get out of the left hemisphere. Now, obviously, we don't want to have a stroke. So this little gamut procedure is a little helpful technique to do that. You do it on both sides, and you don't have to use Row Your Boat. You can use like a little chant of something, but it has to be meaningless. Because if you're thinking about the meaning, you're back in the left hemisphere again.
Okay.
So really, a lot of the things I teach people is how to get out of the left hemisphere. Okay. So then what we do is we rub the left sore spot right there over the heart.
Right.
This prepares the body to be tapped on, gets you more receptive to tapping. And you can also say your intention. So let's say if I was going to be manifesting to help the world, let's say maybe the Middle East, what my intention would be, this is to give you an example of an intention without wanting.
Okay.
But personally, I don't think you need to even speak your intentions, or even think your intentions, because already the cosmic force that created this whole universe already knows what your intention is. You don't need to do anything with your intention.
Just be in love.
So I just got to send love to whatever I want to manifest. I'll send love when I'm in a deep state of consciousness in the Middle East. I'll just send love to the people. If I'm going for a job interview, I go to send love to the people I go to a job interview with. I've had amazing success. On my website, I have hundreds and hundreds of people who use this technique to get jobs, to win beauty contests. Oh, you name it. I have one client that's won a marathon. She was on the cover of Runner's Magazine. I have one client who won Miss Hollywood. This is, I mean, I'm serious. Just by doing these techniques, doing what I call the quantum love flow. But anyway, once we do this, and then and one of the ways you could use this is as even though I have, let's see. So there's two ways you can use the source spot. One is to kind of go after stuff that you're working on, and one is as a way to manifest things. So if, let's say, you want to manifest something like little changes in the Middle East. So what I would do is I would say, we're sending love to all our brothers and sisters in the Middle East so that we all might feel more connected. And that's all I would do. Then we would just send the love. And the best part of it, though, the most important part, is sitting there in the quantum, letting it flow for a while. Okay. So I would have people hold their hearts while they're doing that. Okay. But first we want to tap. So we want to get rid of some of the subconscious doubts. So then we go to the top of the head. So even though I have these doubts, I'm going to love myself. Eyebrow spot.
Yeah.
Then even though I have these doubts, I'm going to love myself. And
could we shift the focus to like discovering true purpose? So and we have doubts around that, right? Like, what is my purpose? Lots of doubts. What is my purpose on this planet? Which way should I go?
Beautiful, beautiful. What you're saying is good. Here's the deal. You first have to tap on the doubts. Okay. So you tap out the doubts. So let's say you'd rank the doubts. Let's say your doubts are at a level of 1 to 10. Maybe they're about a 6 or 7. Because when you start thinking about finding my true purpose, immediately those thoughts come up in your brain. Well, I'm not good enough, or I've been thinking about this forever. I'm never going to find it out. Yeah. So those little doubts. So what you do is you bring up those little doubts and you tap on them. So even though I got this, I've got this doubt about whether I'm ever going to figure out my true purpose. I got this doubt. I'm never going to figure out what my true purpose is. Underneath the eyes, I'm afraid I'm never going to learn it. I'm going to spend my whole life without learning about my doubts, about learning my true purpose.
I'm going to waste my whole life not living my purpose.
I'm going to waste my whole life. I'm never going to get a chance to be on Livia's channel because I've never discovered my purpose in life. And then, of course, you keep on doing it. What you do is you want to bring up the negative until it shifts. Once it shifts, then you can start with the positive. So then let's say it shifted. Okay, now it's instead of a 10, it's down there to about 3 or whatever. It doesn't really matter. As long as it's shifted, then we can start with the positive.
Yeah, and when you say shift, you're talking about the negative trigger, like the tension that it's having on your body. So you're talking about from 1 to 10, how much do you feel it in your body? And so what we're trying to do is essentially just get to a place of where it's no longer the negative thoughts are impacting us.
All I need is a little bit of a shift from, let's say, an 8 or 10 in a level of intensity down to 4 or 5.
Okay.
Then I have other techniques to do, which is the first one I would do is teach people to think, because first of all, everybody has doubts and everybody is afraid of their negative thoughts, and everybody is afraid. They think they've failed because of their negative thoughts. Okay. So that's why you have to kind of tap on the positive now. Okay, so I didn't fail with these negative thoughts.
I didn't fail with these negative thoughts.
Eyebrow spot. If other people can do it, I can do it. There's another way to look at it.
If other people can do it, I can do it.
Just because I have these doubts, look at all the good things I've already done.
Look at all the good things I've done.
I've done all this amazing stuff, and then when I think about it, I've helped make the world a better place.
I've helped make the world a better place.
Right, even though it's not been perfect. But you
Although,
know what? I'm the only one in the whole world that isn't perfect. Now, I'll throw in those one-liners like that to get people to think about how ridiculous those thoughts are.
right.
Because and so that's called PET, provocative emotional therapy. It's kind of born out of Australian group of tapping. I love that procedure. But that's what I do. I do a lot of exaggeration to kind of give them a perspective that it doesn't really look at all the good stuff you've already done. You've
Yeah.
been a good mom, been this, you've done that, you've helped animals, whatever. You've been a good friend.
You know
See,
what I'm
what I do
hearing
is
you say is that there's a lack of appreciation for ourselves, a lack of celebration for the good that we've done. Yeah?
it's huge. I use
Mm,
that to what I do once. See, we don't really want to get rid of the negative. We want to reframe it.
yeah.
We want to change it from a negative into a positive. Because you can't, like you said, it's impossible to get rid of all the negatives, but we
Mhm.
can reframe them. So instead of saying, okay, well, I failed, but you know what? Look at all the things I've done that haven't failed. If I'm still a basket case and I've done all this amazing stuff, just imagine what I can do once I'm not a basket case.
I love it. That's great.
So there you go. So that's how that all works.
That's great.
So that's one of the things I do is teach people how to do these reframes, because the reframes is the most important part that I do. And then once I do that, then what I do is I have them put their hands over their heart,
Mm,
and then I take them into the love flow, and then I have them hold in their arms whatever it is they're working on. And usually I have them being held in the arms of God at the same time. So while you're being held in the arms of God, you actually hold, let's say, these doubts in love. You don't try to heal them. You just hold them and love them.
that feels nice.
Yeah, and that would be, we'd probably do a little heart math before that, because heart math is, you can't deny how beautiful heart math is. It's one of the best things I've ever seen. One of the easier meditation techniques.
Yeah.
It's very similar to an ancient Vedic technique. I've spent thousands and hundreds of thousands of hours in meditation. I spent 2 years of my life meditating 10 hours a day or more, and sometimes in India and Switzerland, all these different places we had classes. And
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you, heart math is a nice, easy way to get into the state. And so I like to give them kudos whenever I can to help them, to help them with their techniques and whatever. And then what I do is I do the whole Ho'oponopono.
Mm,
When you're in that love flow state, I'm sorry
I'm
for the
sorry.
negative thoughts that I've been having. Please forgive them. Please forgive me.
Please forgive them. Please forgive me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Then I thank you.
Thank you.
And
Gratitude.
they've been helpful to me because they're helping me grow.
They're helping me
See,
grow.
you're reframing again. And then I love you, meaning I love you, the negative thoughts that have been holding me back.
Mm, I
So you
love the
shift the
negative thoughts.
negative
Yeah.
into a friend. You shift the negative into a friend.
So you're no longer resisting. You're just allowing. Yeah.
You're in the love flow. I call it the quantum love flow.
That's great. That's so
Now,
great.
there's more to it. There's letting go, which we haven't really gotten into, but that's way too much stuff. But I could talk about it if you have time. But maybe that's
Yeah.
for the next time you interview me. Because how do we get to the quantum? How does the quantum fit in with all this stuff? And that's what I do when I teach my classes. It's also in some of my CDs. So I've got my
Yeah.
stuff in CDs because I don't really care. We need, and you share the same vision. We need to do something pretty fast because we're running out of time over here. You can see around us all this stuff that's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have to kind of we want to get as many people doing this. That's one of the reasons why I only charge $50 for my classes. We need numbers. The more people doing these techniques, the more we can change. People always say, "Well, you don't value yourself." That's not true at all. It doesn't matter whether I make money. It matters whether we change the collective consciousness.
You know,
We don't change.
that's so great. I love that you said that because what I really get about you, Garland, I mean, you could be, a multimillionaire by now. You know what I'm saying? And you could be like but you are so committed to making a difference and you have what you need, right? It's like you're
I do.
happy. You're
I do.
happy.
I always get whatever I want.
Yeah, you get what you want. You're prosperous. You travel the world. You're doing amazing work in the world. You're making
I
a
get paid to
huge,
go traveling. How many people get to do that? I get to go to
yeah.
Florida in winter. I get to.
Yeah, so this whole like, and then, I get trapped inside of that sometimes too. And I don't think that money is a bad thing or to have an aspiration of being a
No, no,
millionaire.
no, no.
But I know that there has been in the past where it's like I got so fixated on just being a millionaire and being successful that it took me out of the flow. It took me out of the fun and the joy and the happiness. And you know what? If that happens as a result of me enjoying my life, then so would be it. But I'm choosing to just be in the quantum flow of love and not stressing myself out. Because when I stress myself out to the point of burnout, it's no longer fun,
Well,
And
it's funny because I've watched you over the years. We've known each other for a long time, and you had some success getting money, but you've had much more success when you decided to do this thing where you're changing the collective consciousness, almost like you were born to do this. It's like it all worked together. You have all these very famous people coming in and doing these interviews, and so you did it. I mean, that's amazing. It's amazing. You should be giving yourself kudos. So it shows you that again, when you manifest, you want to get in the flow. Once you're in the flow, nature will support what's supposed to happen to you.
Yeah.
And that's the key right there. It's not just us doing, it's getting in the flow so the outside supports us.
That's so awesome. That's so great. I wish I could just spend like 2 more hours interviewing you because you're just a wealth of knowledge and wisdom. So thank you for who you are and the contribution that you're making in the world. And so what I'm going to highly suggest that everyone does is the free gift that you're giving away is a paper that you wrote on healing, right?
Healing pathways to love.
Healing pathways to love. And so you talk about the trauma that we all have some sort of trauma when we come to this planet. It's a little traumatic.
It's called it's called being alive.
It's called being
alive. It's the earthly experience.
And then you also, there's Garland's email as well. So go ahead and email Garland and you're going to give a 15-minute free one-on-one consultation.
Right.
So they can get a little taste of your work and, perhaps have a conversation with you about where they're stopped and where they're blocked in life. I highly suggest Garland's work. Like I said, I've worked with you. You've done amazing, things with me, and it's allowed me to really get into this state of abundance and flow. I mean, obviously working with you for the last few years has made a difference. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yes,
thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And I'm excited about you helping change this collective consciousness because we're all in this together.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's exciting. Actually, it's very exciting times because we're making a difference. So you can see it happening right now.
Yeah, and thank God, for technology because of Skype and these recording softwares and all these things, we're able to really do it in a faster, way and make a bigger impact in the world by reaching, thousands of people, which is really cool.
It is. It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah.
And people are waking up. So we are making a difference. That's the thing. Belief is important. There was a study done. It's called the Blessed Tea Study, one of my favorite researchers. And his name is Dean Radin. And what they did was they took, had expert Zen monk meditators and then masters, and they had them bless one group of tea and not the other group of tea. And then they gave one group of tea to one group of people, another to another group. They didn't know what they were going to get. It's randomly assigned and all that stuff. And they gave them mood scales before and after. And the thinking was if they got the blessed tea, there would be an increase in mood if it changed anything. But they didn't know whether they got the blessed tea or not. But they asked one more question. This is the key. Before they did the study, do you believe this study, if you get the blessed tea, do you believe it'll work? And when the results came back, it was mind-boggling. The ones that believed it worked got 8 times the results of the ones who got the blessed tea and didn't believe it would work. So a lot of what I do is trying to get people to believe it's going to happen.
Believe it's going to happen.
Change those negative brain pathways.
Absolutely. That's awesome. And, and especially right now, we need to acknowledge the goodness in the world, with all the, the political stuff that's happening. And there's just so much talk about negative. And if this president gets candidated, then the world's going to end. And, that's one way you can look at it. Or you could look at it like, hey, we have the power and the ability to make a difference, regardless of who goes into office. And
it doesn't matter who gets into office because we can change it.
Absolutely.
We proved that when we went to Washington, D.C. That was the goal of this idea, was to get back the idea that we're not helpless. One of the things I tap on all the time with my clients is I can do it. I'm feeling empowered. I'm feeling empowered. I'm feeling empowered. Once you do the reframe, then you start with the feelings of being empowered. I'm feeling empowered. I can do this. See, the problem is, let's tell you one more thing,
Yeah.
because this is kind of important. Triggers are what hold us back.
Mm-hmm.
Triggers is when somebody pushes your button. The most common kind of trigger is Thanksgiving dinner. Always something happens with your family that triggers you. My goal is to have a Thanksgiving dinner trigger-free for the whole world.
I love that.
Because triggers, you have no control over them. You're triggered, you're triggered. You can't do anything about it. Until you can think about it, oops, I'm triggered, but it doesn't help you one bit. You're still upset. These techniques rule the triggers. This gives us the power that the triggers take away from us. And we're all triggered. I can see what happens when you see these various political figures. They get triggered, and then they say stupid stuff. And that's not them. But the same with our poor guys and gals coming back from the military. They get triggered, and they do things that they regret. And not only that, it's difficult to heal them.
Yeah.
Because they're committing suicide at a rate of 22 per day. This is huge.
Wow.
This is what trauma does.
These are things like we don't even know about, unless we
Well, that's what I'm doing. I'm
read and
giving a
dig for the
talk at
information.
Maine General Hospital on the fact that old stuff from childhood, now this is the key, because I haven't really talked about this, but this is something that's important. Where is this stuff coming from? Well, they've finally done the research on this. And this is what I do when I work with people, and you know that. I find the stuff from childhood that cause it. Now, not only does old stuff from childhood cause triggers, it also causes diseases like cancer, heart attacks, immune system diseases, depression, you name it. Big time. Not small time, big time. They finally did the research on it, Kaiser Permanente. They looked at it, and they looked at things like not being held or being lack of emotional support from your mom, not just sexual abuse. We're talking about lack of emotional support. Causes death, causes cancer, causes heart attacks. This is incredible.
Amazing. This is why it's really important to really go within and really get into that flow of love, to love yourself and not to expect the outside world to fulfill that love for you.
We're looking for the outside. Beautifully said. Brilliant. Because then we become a victim.
Yeah.
We got to do it ourselves. Because otherwise, if we don't do it ourselves, then we're always looking for somebody else to save us, which means we aren't believing in ourselves, which means it's not going to work.
Yep.
That's what it is. We have to feel empowered. So this is another element.
Cool.
You have to build up confidence that the belief that I can do it. And that's what I do with these techniques, is I help you get to the place where you first are trigger-free, then you start using these techniques to kind of create miracles in your life.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Garland.
All right.
So appreciate you. Absolutely. Thanks for tuning in, viewers. I hope you got tons out of this. I know you did. Click the links below. Get your free gift. Get on the phone with Garland. Do a free consultation. It's definitely not going to hurt anything. And I wish the world lots of quantum flow love.
All right. Thank you so much, hon.
Bye.